Welcome back, everybody, to the HISxHERS Podcast. We are back, and today, first Monday of the month, so of course we're going to talk about some conspiracies.
Conspiracy theories.
And what do we have this week?
What's up, y'all? Welcome back. So today's episode is super exciting. Y'all know, if you guys have been following us on Instagram, we have been picking out of a bag just randomly some random conspiracies to dive into. This month, we are actually going to be diving into missing aircrafts, specifically and more importantly, over the Bermuda Triangle and like the Bermuda Triangle, the conspiracies, like what goes on there, how many ships and how many aircrafts and like these weird things that happen in that area. So we're going to be diving into some of the missing aircrafts, especially over the history of time.
Yeah, we're going to go over some of the big ones, including from all the way from 1910,
yes.
All the way to pretty much the most recent one, or the most recently famous one, the Malaysian Airlines one, MH370.
Yeah.
Which that one was crazy. Even at the time, like...
Oh, yeah. That one was like so heart-wrenching. Like it was just like really, really weird.
Well, for the longest time, I thought it was like a Bermuda Triangle situation.
Yeah.
But
after we'll our research today, we're about to tell you all the tea about the Malaysian Airlines. But actually, we're just going to go ahead and jump into this episode. So happy Monday, you guys. We hope that you're ready for a productive week. So let's get into our conspiracy theory episode. So I wanted to start off with, like the beginning records of missing aircrafts, and it took me back to 1910. I forget how long ago like we discovered flying aircrafts and being able to fly. So the first recorded incident of a missing aircraft was in December of 1910. Okay, there was a woman by the name of Cecil Grace, and she was in an aircraft. She went missing over the Atlantic Ocean, and her body ended up washing up on shore around March 15th of 1911. So December 22nd is when she was last seen, and her body washed up on shore the very next year in March. So somewhere her aircraft crashed. Nobody found the aircraft or anything, but that's how they found out that that's how she died. It's because her body.
But they never found the plane. They never found the plane.
No signs of the plane. No nothing. As we get along into this conspiracy theory episode, we're gonna figure out like why that tends to happen when there's no evidence of the aircraft.
Yeah, I'm really curious because like the Malaysian airline, that one they're probably never gonna find it because that's intentional.
No, yeah.
But like if a plane crashes, I mean, I guess it'd be hard to find the plane, like, because you're not going to find it whole.
No, you'll find pieces and
like,
with the research that we did for this episode, it turns out that you have a better chance of finding pieces of the plane if it was an intentional crash. But if it wasn't and you're just like nosediving, you're coming at such high speeds into the water that like the whole thing is obliterated. And it's like not even, I mean, you can't even find a whole plane whole. So that's
when you're
the crazy
coming from
part.
That height, at that speed, I mean, it's pretty much like crashing into concrete.
Hey, man, if you're afraid to fly, please don't listen to this episode, okay? Like, this is going to make you very anxious.
Yeah.
But, this is over time, okay? Airplanes have come a long way. But another really notable one that was like kind of freaky was in 1927, okay? So we're talking August 31st, 1927. 3 people went missing, but most importantly, according to some,
like at the same time?
At the same time. They were on the same flight, okay? Their entire aircraft went missing. All right. But among the 3 was a woman by the name of Anne of Lowenstein Wortham in the North Atlantic. She was actually a princess.
Princess of what?
Princess Anne of Lowenstein. Lowenstein.
That's a place?
Yes, it's a place. I think it's in England.
She was a princess of England.
Yes, she was a princess. It was like literally Princess Anne of Lowenstein.
Like she had a tiara and shit?
Yes, like princess, okay?
I'm gonna need pictures.
So it was like her, and so she actually went missing in the North Atlantic. We're going to talk about the North Atlantic because so many planes, and ships go missing in this ocean. But she went missing.
Now, is that part of the Bermuda Triangle or no?
Actually, yes. So
is it really?
Yeah, it is. The Bermuda Triangle is between the North Atlantic and the Caribbean Sea. Okay, so
that's a pretty big space,
it's actually a pretty big space. However, in the grand scheme of things, the Bermuda Triangle is actually pretty small. So for those of you guys that don't know, because I was doing a little bit of research on the Bermuda Triangle, it freaks me the fuck out. So the Bermuda Triangle starts from the coastline of the bottom of Florida, right? Okay. And then it goes down to Puerto Rico, up. Okay, it goes up to Bermuda, which is where it gets its name, and then back to Florida. So that's what makes the triangle. Yeah. Now, some of these disappearances that we're going to be talking about happened near the triangle, but not necessarily within its realm, within its jurisdiction.
Are you trying to say that the Bermuda Triangle is not all it's cracked up to be?
I'm trying to say that, like, people try to discredit what happens because they're like, actually, that didn't happen in the Bermuda Triangle.
You calling the Bermuda Triangle pussy?
Look, okay, I have a lot of respect. All right. Now we'll get further into the Bermuda Triangle.
Sounds like you're challenging the Bermuda Triangle.
Look, I am not here. If you don't stop trying to start mess, okay? You know I have nothing but the utmost respect for the ocean, okay? David could tell you on and on what I believe about the ocean. The ocean is a living, breathing thing.
Should be petting it and stuff.
Shut up. And this is why, listen, okay, if you're, shut up. You have to be nice to the ocean. It's a living thing. Like the actual ocean, I believe it 100%. And I believe it because both of these boys, my brother and David, have gotten stung by jellyfish, and I was literally right there by both of them at the same time. See, and nothing bad has ever happened to me.
Summoning the ocean on us because I've been chilling.
Nah, you were being hella disrespectful. He was just like jumping around. Just
because I'm swimming?
No, it's just like you just gotta relax, like wade, like you know what I mean. Like there are fish and other things that live in there. It's their home.
So you telling me fish can shit in the ocean?
Yeah,
but I can't swim and kick a little bit.
That's like saying, oh man, like I can shit in my own house and I don't want nobody to come in here.
I don't
like. Yeah, you can shit in your own house.
What do you mean?
But like, I be getting mad when
my
like
house.
I be getting mad when I see like people bring in all kinds of shit, like their food and like their beers and stuff into the ocean. They're like swimming with it in the ocean like it's a fucking pool.
People be eating in the ocean.
Yes, like, I saw it when we were in Miami.
What?
I saw dudes.
What were they eating?
They were eating bags of chips. And what do you think happens to that bag whenever you get drunk or whatever and you accidentally let it go?
I don't think I would eat in the ocean personally.
I could go on and on. I am very respectful of the ocean, and that is why I'm like Moana and nothing bad happens to me. Both of y'all got stung. And I just took that. I was like, because both of y'all was being disrespectful.
I don't know.
Yeah. So the ocean is something to be respected. You know, it holds a lot of life. It houses a lot of life. We need to respect it and take care of it.
I love the ocean.
So now let's fast forward. So that happened.
I'm scared shitless of it. But
dude, the ocean, we need to be scared. We need to be very afraid.
I don't go deeper than my waist.
Dude.
I don't go deeper than that.
And like that's what I'm saying. Like that's your territory. I'm not here to like invade on your shit.
I don't need to do that.
You know?
One time when I was in Cancun, I was in the ocean, and you know there like the water's like super clear.
Yeah.
And I was just like chilling, and like I just see a fucking snake. I was like,
you just gotta mind your business. You just gotta mind your business. Don't freak out. Don't do any of that. Don't even like start splashing on crazy because that echoes really bad for them, and it like really irritates them. Any sort of like marine life.
You tell me if I'm kicking in the ocean, that's louder than the waves.
It's not, but the waves is a natural thing. That is a human made, and it's just like it's something that echoes, and it's not comfortable for them. It's not a part of their nature.
So if
it's about being respectful.
What about boats?
Boats. I don't think that boats are like necessarily fun for marine life.
But then how will we?
What?
Have you seen Moana?
Yes.
They be sailing.
They find islands. Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know how we're veering off right now.
That's the beauty of this podcast.
Yeah. So I mean, this isn't necessarily Moana. I'm just saying.
Okay. So to summarize, you're calling the Bermuda Triangle a bitch. Not to put words in your mouth.
You are literally putting.
But you're saying the Bermuda Triangle can't fuck with you.
I am saying that a lot of people are giving the Bermuda Triangle credit that it doesn't deserve. How about that?
Ooh.
How about that? Okay, like
I'm not going to cross the Bermuda Triangle with you. I know that.
Like I'm trying to come at this logically. Listen, I'm not saying that nothing sketchy is going on. I just don't think it's in those confines, just those confines.
So then we need to expand.
Yes,
the Bermuda
that's
Triangle.
what I'm saying. Okay, so we need to well, let's talk about the Bermuda. Okay.
Make it more like a Bermuda trapezoid or something. You know
Shut up, a Bermuda octagon.
Yeah, like we need to come up with a new shape. Triangle sounds cool though.
It does sound cool.
Yeah, we need
it sells good merch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is it Bermuda Triangle merch?
Yeah, of course there's Bermuda Triangle merch. Yeah, man. He's actually really, really popular. Okay, so we have the 1910 disappearance.
Okay.
The 1927 disappearance. I would like to acknowledge the fact that during my research there was definitely more crashes and disappearances in between these dates. These are just the most notable in history.
Now, what makes these more notable than the other ones?
Just anybody who it was involved, that maybe this princess. This first one in 1910, that was one of the earliest records, so that made it notable.
Yeah.
And then the next one that we're going to be talking about,
princess.
Yes, the princess. She went missing, so that made it more notable. And then because before that, you have to imagine. Could you imagine living back in that time, and all of a sudden people are like, "Oh yeah, we can fly airplanes. Do you want to fly on one?" And there's just people that were kind of like the lab rats of the entire situation. I don't know how or when, at what point I would feel safe during that time.
People
to fly.
were probably super sketchy.
Man, straight up
sketched out about it.
You're gonna take me in the sky and go where?
You want me to do what?
Right?
No, I'm not doing that. Good luck.
So
the plane disappears. I'm like, see, that's why I don't.
I told you, and that's the thing. So
that's why I'm going on the Titanic in a couple months. That shit don't sink.
Unsinkable. I will be the safest.
You fly the plane. I'm going on the Titanic. Idiots.
Fucking noobs. Okay, so fast forward.
Tried and proven.
July 2nd, 1937. Okay. We all know this infamous case of the Amelia Earhart. She was one of the first women to she was actually the first,
right?
The first woman to actually be a pilot. And so she was taking over this niche. She was traveling all over the place. She actually decided to create a goal for herself and somebody that she was on a trip with. His name is Fred Noonan. They made a goal to make their way around the entire globe via aircraft, right? So she took off on her expedition to make it around the world in July of 1937. So they were on their last leg of the attempted round the world flight, and they vanished when they were approaching Howland Island, and that was actually in the Pacific Ocean. So they were almost all the way around the world. They were on the last leg of it, and all of a sudden, the towers lose contact with this aircraft that Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were on at that time. There was one last radio from Amelia Earhart talking about her gas being low and giving kind of coordinates of where she was at. After that, there was no other, communication from her or Fred Noonan. Now, what makes...
Oh, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So is that what caused the crash? She just ran out of gas?
Well, we don't know for sure because, they kind of did the mathematics. She would have been able to make it to a nearby island, actually one that had the resources to fuel up her plane. She would have been able to make it with the fuel that she had left, according to science and their research. So that's what makes her case a little bit sketchy.
So I guess my question would be, did they find her plane?
No.
They never
found her plane.
How much gas she had left?
Because of what she radioed in before they lost signal.
Gotcha.
She's the one who was radioing her levels and shit, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And her coordinates, and that's the last that they heard of her. So they were like, well, maybe she ran out of gas. But then it didn't make sense because they were like, even with the gas that she had left, they did the math and were like, okay, if she did this around the world, she stopped here, she had this amount of gas, it would have cost her this amount of gas to get here. You know what I mean? So they were like, she would have been able to make it to this island. She knew that. She was very experienced, but she just seemed very turned around. So this seemed to be happening quite a bit in history. So Amelia Earhart went missing, and there was actually a really remote island in the area that she went missing in the Pacific Ocean that actually has native people that live there that have been living there for centuries, obviously. And so a few years later, there was an illustration that came out. It was a photo, supposedly, of Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan on this island with these native people from the island, and they were like on this dock, and it was supposed to be proof that Amelia Earhart was alive and she was just stranded on this island or being made to stay there or something. But then it turned out that whole photo was debunked, and it was actually used in a textbook of sorts that was published like a few years before she even went missing. Oh. So even though, because it was like a behind photo, I will put it here. David, don't forget to insert it. Okay. I'll put it here. So
don't forget to send it to me.
Yes. Yeah, I won't forget. So I'll put it here. All you see is like the back. And it could be Amelia Earhart. Everybody thought it was her, but it was very quickly debunked. So at the end of the day, and Amelia Earhart has never been found. Neither has Fred Noonan.
Wow.
Bodies have never been found. So it was just really sudden and really weird.
That is.
You know, she was really determined to make this goal. So her being the first woman pilot and her just like going missing. And some people believe that it was the government. Some people believe that it was like maybe outside countries that were involved. Like maybe she was a spy. Someone killed her off.
She was a spy
for Russia. People can like have conspiracy theories that she was a Russian spy.
I think everybody at that time thought everybody was a Russian spy.
Oh my God, for real. So like, you know, a lot of people have their own thoughts and theories about how and why she disappeared. So
what do you think happened?
I think that she got turned around, and I think that the technology back then wasn't where it is now, and I think that maybe she ran out of gas and she plummeted.
I mean, there's so many things that could have happened. I mean, weather could have been bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and you know, in some of these cases, it's weird because in certain parts of the ocean, like compasses and instruments like that, like directional instruments, they stop working.
Like the magnetic field.
Yeah. So like people get turned around. If you get turned around, you only have so much gas and oxygen and all of those things to keep you alive and in the air, that if you get turned around, like you're screwed.
Oh yeah, I would never fly a plane.
Like
personally.
My God, you have to have some sort of GPS and some sort of compass. So that's what makes this entire thing weird. So this kept happening. Okay, so Amelia Earhart, she disappeared in 1937. Between the years of 1940 and 1950, I couldn't even write all of them down. There were 18 different cases of missing aircrafts with over 300 missing people a part of those missing aircrafts as a result. 300 between 1940 and 1950. In the 10 years, that
was all over the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes, it was near or around.
Okay,
so it wasn't just, in it.
Yeah, we definitely got to expand.
Yes.
That we need.
Right. Okay, so then the next notable one was in October of 1954. Okay. It was a U.S. Navy flight. It was a U.S. Navy Flight 57. It disappeared off Maryland with 42 passengers and crew. There has been nobody knows about the aircraft, about anybody on flight, on board. Like, everybody just disappeared. There's just, like, if you disappear over the ocean, like, who's going to find you? That's what makes it so scary. Like, there's no way to fucking find you. So, and
there's going to be, like, no trucker driving by, like, finding you.
Yeah, like, there's a witness.
Oh, shoot, are you stranded?
There's a right.
Need a ride?
Yeah, I saw you out here struggling.
That's not going to happen.
Nah, so that's what makes it weird. And then another thing that I noticed was that it was a lot of... people would do that. There weren't really manned ships. They were like cargo ships. It's nothing but like cargo on board, and a lot of cargo ships went missing in the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of them, like countless. Where like they just wouldn't show up to their destination. They would just get. Now it could be pirates. Yeah. We need to talk about that theory. But yeah, so that's over over the decades since we were able, we learned how to fly aircrafts.
Yes.
Over 2,000 ships and over 200 aircrafts have disappeared in the area in or around the Bermuda Triangle without a trace.
I guess my question is, do you know how that compares to the rest of the world? Like, is there any other place where ships and or planes disappear at that rate?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay, so it's definitely something in that area.
It's definitely something in that area, but let's take a look at the area, though. It's pretty big. Mm-hmm. You're talking about the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Ocean, any part of the ocean, really.
Whoa. Excuse me. I took a shot of tequila and
you always blame it on the tequila.
That's what that tasted
like. If you can't hang, just say that.
I can hang. I'm hanging.
So that brings us all the way up to 1945. So this was probably one of the weirdest occasions because, 5 fucking planes went missing at one time. 5.
Oh, okay.
5.
All right. Now it's getting good.
Okay. So we're talking about flight 19 from Fort Lauderdale. 5 planes went missing at once on December 5th.
Cool.
Okay. So this was in the Navy. These were training.
I feel like the Navy should stop flying planes. They don't seem very good at it.
Maybe. So these were they were beginner pilots, but they were still very experienced by this time. This was a training session, and they all went into the air. They were training in the area. All of a sudden, all of them were reporting that their compasses were malfunctioning. They were having an issue, navigating their planes back to base, and then they ended up disappearing without a fucking trace. 5 of them. Okay, so when the Navy was asked about if they could even explain this, how could this, not 1, not 2, not 3, 5, you know what I mean? The Navy said, and I quote, "We're not even able to make a good guess as to what happened."
Jesus
We're not
Christ.
even able to make a good fucking guess about what the fuck happened, how they just
They're shit, fool, let us know and you get an idea.
Let us know your theories.
Bro,
basically, if you get involved with the government or you enlist, if something happens to you, they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, I don't really know how that happened." 5 planes.
Yeah, they're not very good at
with experienced pilots. I was researching this. These were not newbies.
So okay, so I got a couple theories about the Bermuda Triangle.
Okay, what's that?
What if it's actually a wormhole?
What's a wormhole?
What if there's a wormhole?
What's that?
Kind of like if you go into the wormhole and then you come out somewhere else, either across the world.
I'm on the planet.
Either across the world, maybe
to another universe.
Maybe or
a
galaxy.
Wormhole.
Yeah, a wormhole.
Not a black hole. What's the difference?
No. Black hole is
in the infinity of nothingness.
No, black hole's just big ass
gravity
object. Cool. Yeah, that it's just a super dense, heavy dense, gravitational. I can't explain.
Man, you act like you vacation there. What's it like?
It's great.
Wow.
You can't. But literally, what happens there stays there.
Got you.
Because nothing can escape it. Not even light. Light can't even escape a black hole.
So a wormhole is different than a black hole.
Wormhole is kind of like a transportation thing.
Got it.
Or what's that shit called? If you
Back to the Future, they were traveling in a wormhole?
No, I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know. I gotta look into that.
Because that's time. That's time traveling.
I mean, I guess.
But it could be a time traveling wormhole.
Yeah, theoretically. Maybe.
Right. That's how it works, right?
I don't know.
If it can travel.
That's above my
from one place to another, it should be able to travel from one time to another.
Well, the idea is that time isn't linear, so it's possible.
Exactly. Time is not linear.
So the wormhole can be I'm trying to think of the word. Transporter or what's the word?
I
can't think
where
of
you transport from one place to another.
Yeah, science fiction movies where you hop on you go this hole and you come out on the other side.
Yeah.
And you're in a whole totally different part of the world. Or maybe in space. Maybe these motherfuckers are flying through this wormhole and some people think they're excuse me. So some people think that these wormholes are actually used by aliens when they come to Earth to kind of get around. That's how they get to Earth, is through these wormholes and shit.
Oh. Mm-hmm. We got to talk about aliens because I got my own thoughts.
So maybe the aliens created the wormhole.
I think the aliens created everything, to be honest.
And now these planes are flying through there and shit. And
well, what's weird is that there was actually a case, babe, where it was in the 1980s.
You know what? We should actually do a episode on wormholes and time travel.
Yeah, for sure. Time traveling. I would totally love that. Let us know if you guys would love to hear us go down the rabbit hole of time traveling. But no, there was this case, okay, where a flight went missing for 37 years.
Yeah.
And then it showed up on the radar and he was about to land in an airport. I want to say it was in Florida. And he told the watchtower, right, that he was about to land. And the watchtower was like, all right, like, you know, what's your aircraft, da-da-da, right? And he was like, yeah, this is my flight number, this, that, and the third. He was coming from Miami. He was about to land somewhere. And he was like, okay. And the guy in the watchtower did not know what was going on. He was like, I have no record of you leaving. Like, I don't even know who the fuck you are, you know? And the guy said, it's this time. It was like 1950 something. Like, this was when my plane took off, you know, on this day. And the watchtower guy made the fucking mistake of being like, you do know that it's today's date, right? And it was like in the 2000s. So he apparently heard the pilot like say like, what the fuck? Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, that's not true. And so they literally saw the fucking aircraft. Like, it went from the radar and they saw it in the sky approaching and about to land. But because they said that to the fucking pilot and they told him what date it was, he fucking flipped that bitch around. He flipped that bitch around and took off and disappeared.
What?
Yes.
This is real?
This is so motherfucking real.
No way.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna show you. Hold up. Babe, I shit you fucking not. When I was doing my research, I was like, no way. Hold up. Yes. Hold on.
Oh my God.
37. Let me show you. Okay. Oh my God, this is so exciting. Okay, so it was a Pan Am flight, Pan Am flight 914. You guys fucking look it up. I'm not lying. Okay, it was the curious case of Pan Am flight 914, and it was a story of an American plane that was missing for 37 years. Hold on, it's loading. So here we go. So it was a plane from 1955, landed after 37 years. Here's what happened. Okay, so it was a Pan Am flight from New York in 1955. It slipped from radar and then vanished until it unexplainably returned 37 years later when it landed or almost landed in Miami, Florida. The story originated in an article published in May of 1985 in the Weekly World News, an American print-based tabloid that was circulating between 1979 and 2007. So they were talking about here we go. Now, there are some people who want to debunk this story, so you guys let me know what you guys think.
This is a crazy-ass story if it's true.
Okay, hold on.
And I can't believe I've never heard of it.
Babe.
Because the guy accidentally time traveled?
Yeah, he accidentally fucking time traveled.
What? That's crazy. I wonder if, like, the flight to him, I mean, it must have been just, like, the normal length flight because he didn't run out of gas or anything.
Yeah, right?
And he, like, the confusion must have been, like, he didn't know that he was disappeared. Like, so there has to be oh my God, that is a crazy story.
I know, like.
I mean, it totally could be a hoax. I mean, if you could get, like, an old-ass plane and you had an idea of that plane that had disappeared,
That's
then
true.
you could fly up and be like, yeah, this is me, and then turn around so that way you don't ever have to get questioned.
Well,
so I could definitely see how it could be a hoax.
Well, according to the tabloids at that time, so it was a 57 passenger and 6 crew flight. All right, it took off from New York and was headed to Miami. The date was July 2nd, 1955, but it came on radar in Caracas on March 9th, 1985. Okay. Now, when the pilot was going towards the gate and he was headed towards the airport, he told the watchtower that he was heading in. And then they told him when the date was. And they said that he actually landed and then he flipped a bitch. He threw a small calendar out the window before he made his hasty turn back to the runway. And when he took off, he disappeared as suddenly as he arrived.
Tell me he conveniently had a fucking calendar in him?
Yeah, and then it says the governments of both Venezuela and the United States were said to have seized the calendar and the tower tapes and have refused to comment on the incident even once during an interview over the decades about what really happened to Flight 914. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could just fucking flip a bitch like that.
You could flip a bitch.
He's like, what?
Skirt!
Like, out
with
here.
his 57 passengers and like all his crew. Like he had all these people on the plane, but
he's like, attention everybody, we are actually in the year 2004.
Yeah, he's like, this shit's fucking weird. We're about to be out this bitch.
This is not our year. If you could look to the right.
He was like, buckle up, bitch. We're about to be the fuck out of here. This shit's fucking weird. We ain't about to stop here and fucking lose our life. Thank you.
Yeah, that I don't even
Keep
know.
your seatbelts fastened.
Like what?
So yeah, a lot of people have debunked the story, come up with like, info to debunk it, but it definitely is one of the biggest stories about an aircraft that may or may not have landed after 37 years of being gone.
It's a fascinating story.
Fascinating.
If it's true.
Yeah,
The thought of it though, it being real is crazy.
Terrifying, right?
It opens up a lot of questions.
It does. And now, like, we have to get to the point where, so now, building up to one of the most recent the most infamous cases of an airline disappearance.
For sure.
Of course. Like, for us to be alive during this and like, okay, so y'all know what we're talking about. We're talking about the Malaysian aircraft that went missing. This was the year
2014.
To 2014, y'all. Like, I remember hearing about this shit.
Over 7 years.
Do you remember hearing about this?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we were together. Babe, we've been together for so fucking long.
Yeah, we were together. I remember it because me and your brother used to talk about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My brother loves a good conspiracy theory.
So we used to talk about it. I never really thought too much about it when it happened because I didn't really follow it that closely when it happened.
Yeah.
Because pretty much happened like on the other side of the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't think in America it got quite the same amount of run that it did in other places. Like in Australia. I feel like Australia really had an interest in it because where the plane supposedly kind of landed crashed is around Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So all the footage that I could find of like people, talking about it and what happened to it is mostly like 60 minutes in Australia.
Okay.
And
so when was this? This was 2014. Yes.
Yeah, in March.
In March of 2014. And where was this plane headed? Malaysia?
No, it was actually leaving from the Kuala Lumpur International Airport, and it was I think that was in Malaysia.
Okay.
And it was flying to Beijing Capital International Airport.
Oh, okay.
And then basically, so the last communications with air traffic control was 30 minutes after takeoff. And that was over the South China Sea. Then it disappeared from radar screens minutes later, but then was tracked by the military radar.
Okay.
So it deviated from its planned flight path, crossing the Malay Peninsula and I think you say Andaman Sea. It left radar range 200 nautical miles northwest of Penang Island. I'm getting this from Wikipedia, by the way.
I got you.
In northwestern peninsular Malaysia, with all 227 passengers and 12 crew aboard, presumed dead.
227 passengers.
The disappearance of Flight 370 is the deadliest incident involving a Boeing 777.
Wow.
Yeah, and remember, I don't know if you recall, but shortly after that, there was another Malaysian Airlines flight, Flight 17, which was shot down while flying over the Ukraine.
What?
4 months later. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
I was like, God damn, like
any Malaysian planes, like what the fuck?
Don't ever fly Malaysian. Fuck.
Man, what made me so sad is like there were so many people on that flight, and there was actually an American couple, and I think it was the girl's parents who was on the flight, and they were going to Beijing, and they were like retired, just like enjoying their life traveling. And she said that it was like the weirdest fucking thing that her family, like her parents, left from Malaysia that day and were heading to Beijing.
Yeah.
And they just fucking disappeared on that flight.
So the flight path is crazy because it pretty much, so once it left, or once it went off the radar because the guy internally in the airplane, the pilot turned off the radar system.
Oh.
Manually overrode it. Overrode it? Yeah, so he manually overrode the radar system so they couldn't track it through the air traffic control. But there was military satellites that were pinging it, And so basically, once he left the Malaysian airspace, they went right and then went back left and then pretty much did a whole U-turn, flying back over where they pretty much came from. Let me see if I get the locations.
So, okay, I think whenever the Malaysian flight disappeared, there were so many theories about what happened. Does it have something to do with like a sketchy thing like that's in the sea that takes crafts, or maybe the airspace above it or something like that? But upon further investigation, it turns out that this flight path was pre-planned. So David's gonna.
So the pilot. Okay, so the pilot was 53-year-old Captain Zahari Ahmad Sa from Penang. And interestingly enough, when they turned back around, they flew back over his hometown. And he dipped his plane. That way he can see his home island.
Oh, wow.
One last time. And before taking the plane to the middle pretty much of the Indian Ocean.
Wow.
As far as hell from where they were supposed to be.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So they also went back to his house. And he has a flight simulator at his house, which is pretty normal, I guess, for pilots.
Oh, the government went to his house.
Yeah, they invested. So they investigated
the pilot. Okay,
right.
Got you.
There's two pilots.
Okay.
And they investigated both of them. They went to his house. He has a flight simulator, and he actually charted this path. And there's a weird path, like
the exact path.
Pretty much, yeah. It was like identical to the path that he took. Yeah, and the interviewer on 60 Minutes, she's interviewing the Malaysian government, because the Malaysian government pretty much is in control of the Malaysian Airlines now.
Yeah.
So they're doing a bunch of PR shit. Making sure that like they're trying to say that it wasn't intentional. And so she's like grilling him. She's like, so do you think that he could do this? And they're like, no, not to Zahari, I know.
Oh,
no.
wow.
She's like, well, what about the fact that he had a flight simulator at home and had this exact path charted? What do you say to that? He's like, that's weird. One of the government officials, and then she's like, where do you think he was going? He's like, to the middle of nowhere.
Like, to the middle of fucking nowhere.
Like, so there's nowhere to land in the middle of the Indian Ocean where it landed. Okay. And what happened to the passengers, they theorize, is that he went up to like 50,000 feet or something like altitude and pretty much just knocked everybody out.
So how did he do that? By depressurizing?
Yeah, and he depressurized the cabin. So
are you fucking serious?
So he was pretty much, he flew like an extra 6-7 hours with a shit ton of dead people on his plane.
So okay. So he takes off.
Right.
The minute he takes off, he goes up to 50,000 feet.
No, he gets out of Malaysian airspace.
He gets out of Malaysian airspace first.
Yep.
Then he depressurizes the cabin.
Because his co-pilot was actually the guy that was communicating with air traffic control.
Okay.
Before. So right after the last message where he's like, good night, they thought that was the Zahari guy, but it wasn't. It was actually his co-pilot. And then right after that, they think he went up to that altitude, depressurized the cabin, knocked everybody out, which is why there's no text messages from anybody on the plane.
Wow.
Or anything like that.
Oh my God.
No phone calls, no nothing. So it's just complete silence. So this was very well thought out.
So he flew around with a cabin full of dead people.
Pretty much,
I wonder what he did with his co-pilot.
I've heard
that's different things.
That's the thing that I was wondering too. I was like, I don't know if he just like knocked him out.
I bet. Well, I've heard that he waited until his co-pilot went to the bathroom at the beginning of the flight, like after.
Well, it would have had to been after they passed through Malaysian airspace.
So apparently his co-pilot went to the bathroom and then he locked him out of the cockpit and then depressurized the cabin with him in the back with the rest of it. Everybody.
That makes sense. That's probably what happened. Yeah. And then he
flew over his hometown.
Yeah, so he flew. So the flight path that he had was to avoid all of the radar systems. So it was very well thought out. Now, the motivation for it is a little bit confusing to me because it's more, some people think that it's like he's trying to make a political statement. because the opposition, he was an avid supporter of the opposition to the Malaysian party.
Okay.
So he was an avid, and then the guy that was pretty much like the leader of that opposition that day was actually sentenced to like 25 years or something in prison for sodomy. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So they think that he might have been pissed about that, and I don't know, took it out. But I don't know what the statement would have been at that point.
Well, what do you think that his goal was?
Some people think that he's having trouble at home with his wife. I mean, who knows, man? To me, I don't know what the motivation was. I think maybe it's easy to say that it could have been political. Maybe it was. But when I think about it, I'm like, I don't know what he would have got out of it if he would have just like, I'm gonna crash this plane with 220 people on it and show them. Like, show who?
That
show
is
who?
so
what?
confusing.
Right. That's what I don't. I'm like, I don't get that. I think people, what they don't talk about enough is that this motherfucker might have just been crazy.
So this may not have been like a conspiracy. It was like somebody who did this intentionally.
Oh, I think it was definitely intentional after looking into it, because before I looked into it, I just assumed, oh shit, maybe it's like a Bermuda Triangle situation where this motherfucker's just disappearing.
Yeah.
But turns out, like, the more I looked into it, I was like, man, this is kind of sketchy. And then to find out about the flight simulator that he had at home with the same path
charted
that he was already, practicing pretty much. I was like, nah, this is definitely intentional. But I don't know what he was trying to gain from it. I don't know. I don't believe like there was a note or anything.
And did they find any like remnants of the plane?
They found like a few. I think they found like 30 pieces or something like that they think are that they believe are part of the plane.
Okay.
And then there's only like a handful of pieces that they have found that have been confirmed to be a part of that plane.
Oh wow.
But because they found the pieces like whole pretty much or as whole as can be, that makes them believe, people that are investigating this, they're led to believe that this was definitely intentional, that it wasn't an accidental crash. So he pretty much just flew that bitch until he ran out of gas, and then just kind of he was trying to hide this plane. He was trying to get it to the deepest part of the ocean in the middle of nowhere where nobody would ever find it, and keep that plane intact as much as possible.
Weird. What the fuck?
They will never find that fucking plane.
So I know that like they found like a big chunk of the wing or something like that, and like that's how
they confirmed,
like they were able to confirm that it was a part of that flight. But that would not have been the case had like they just plummeted, just lost control.
That piece they said would have been like 1,000 pieces
obliterated, right?
Just
so
that
he
piece.
for real flew it to the very last fucking second.
And man, they have spent, it is the most expensive rescue mission in the history of the
aircrafts
world, of the world, I believe.
What?
I believe it is.
Seriously?
Yeah, they've spent so much money and time trying to find that plane.
How do you even search the ocean though?
Man, they just try to go based off of pretty much like
the trajectory and like how fast he was going.
Like the pings from the military radar and the time, and then trying to track and follow and I guess guesstimate the currents of the ocean to figure out where it could have been. But you're talking about like a 600-700 mile radius.
Yeah. And the Indian Ocean ain't no joke. Okay. Like when we were doing our research, the Indian Ocean is like one of the most violent oceans. The tides are very, very harsh. Yeah. So even if you had a vessel crash into the ocean, whether it was a plane or a cruise ship or whatever, with the tides as strong as they are in that area, in a 24-hour period, the remains could drift off miles by that point.
Yeah, so I mean,
you never know.
I really did think that it was a Bermuda Triangle situation. I thought really that's what it was, because during that time, even like a couple of years afterwards, it'd be like, oh, we still haven't found that plane.
Yeah.
Still haven't found that plane. I was just like, well, I guess that bitch went through a wormhole. I don't fucking know. But I don't ever remember hearing that, like, oh, the pilot fucking crashed that shit. I don't ever remember, like, hearing that.
No,
you know
never.
And so when I looked at it, I'm like, it is a conspiracy, but not in the way that I originally thought it was.
Yeah.
And then it also makes it harder because the Malaysian Airlines is actually ran and operated by the Malaysian government. So not only, and you have multiple countries and governments involved because of the flight path that it went and where people might think it is. So, it's very complicated. And to be honest, this guy knew what he was doing. He was a very experienced pilot. He planned it. He knew exactly where he wanted to go with that plane.
So there was like no conspiracy with this. He did it.
The conspiracy is, I guess, why?
Yeah.
Why did he do it? I guess that's where, to me, that's where the only debate is now.
I guess, like, do you believe that there is anything sketch going on with the Bermuda Triangle?
With the Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah.
There has to be something there, whether it could be like the magnetic field being, fucked up there.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be something there, I think, that, but I don't know. I don't understand why, because the Bermuda Triangle, I mean, ships and airlines go through there routinely still today.
Yeah, well,
you know what I'm saying? So I don't, in commercial airlines, commercial, ships. So I guess my question is, how come 100% of vehicles that go through this area don't fucking disappear? Why is it only some of them?
Well, that's the thing. So with the conspiracy theory, it's like a situation of, like it maybe happens every few years or something like that, where like a vessel disappears in that area. Mm-hmm. But the weird thing is that where the Bermuda Triangle is located, I guess all of it can be explained away by like the environmental factors. You have a lot of beachfronts, like a lot of different islands and a lot of shallow waters. So apparently when you have shallow waters, it's easier for hurricanes and it's easier for a lot of harsh tides, and it's very hard to navigate through more shallow waters for a vessel, at which point, you have a higher chance of, destroying your vessel, crashing and drowning. So
I guess my question is, though, if that were to happen, then how come they haven't recovered ships and planes?
Well, the weird thing is that one of the deepest parts of the ocean that we know of as humans, because like let's keep in mind 95% of our ocean is undiscovered.
That is such a crazy number.
Okay, like 95 fucking
They pretty much just got in the ocean up to the waist like me and were like, all right, that's
real.
all we're discovering.
And that's why I feel like there's something else that lives in the ocean that told us to stay the fuck out.
Like what?
I believe that maybe mermaids.
Mermaids?
Yeah, I think that there's like a fucking whole team of fucking mermaids down there that was like, bitch, you better stay the fuck out before we fucking kill all y'all. Like, y'all can have space, explore that shit. Like, NASA was originally created to explore the ocean, and all of a sudden we didn't do that. And we were like, okay, let's just like look up here instead. Like, I feel like we were threatened. By whatever is in the ocean.
What if the ocean's just boring? They're like, eh.
Nah, dude, it's so big. Okay, so let me show you something. Okay.
Mermaids is a crazy thought, though.
We will talk about mermaids. I have so much to say about mermaids.
You're very passionate about mermaids. I am
very, yes. Okay, so a weird thing about the triangle. Let's talk about the actual conspiracy of the triangle, because a lot of things that we're talking about, logical. Got you. Okay. Mm-hmm. So first things first. The weird thing about the Bermuda Triangle, it's not truly official, quote unquote, because it's not a registered territory. It's not even shown on the maps that we look at. Yes, the triangle. But it's understood that it stretches from Miami to Bermuda to San Juan, Puerto Rico. But like that area, you can't really easily see it on a map.
What do they want? Like a border? Like welcome to the Bermuda Triangle?
I guess. So like there's no well, it's taking people's lives. You might as well like have it as a fucking territory. It's no official territory there. It's weird. Okay. The earliest instances of unusual disappearances in the area were reported in 1950. And in almost the 7 decades since, speculation has been really, really big about the actual case of a number of weird happenings that happened within the Bermuda Triangle. So it turns out that the area is known for extremely violent unexpected storms. The area has a lot of shallow waters, like I said.
Yep.
But here we go. It is one of the deepest spots on Earth.
Oh, wow.
On our planet Earth, okay? In fact, the underwater topography of the area could be a factor in the history of disappearances. It goes from a gently sloping continental shelf to an extremely deep drop-off. Some of the deepest trenches in the world are found in the area of the Bermuda Triangle, and ships or planes that sink into this deep trenches will never be found.
Okay, I think we should do an entire episode dedicated to the Bermuda Triangle.
What do you guys think?
Because this one was supposed to be like about flights disappearing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess we did cover that. But I feel like I need to get more information on the Bermuda Triangle because there's a lot here to unpack.
Right?
And
weird.
I really want to go.
The deepest part of the Earth is within the Bermuda Triangle.
And I really want to go over the wormhole theory.
Okay.
As it pertains to the Bermuda Triangle.
Well, if I was a conspiracy theorist,
uh-huh,
what if something lives in the deepest, darkest realms of the Earth in the Bermuda Triangle, and it causes aircrafts and ships to like become lost and have its navigation systems fail, and then gas run out, and all of a sudden they're not, they can't communicate with air traffic control, and they disappear. They crash into the Bermuda Triangle, and whatever down there, whatever is down there is just like taking on the whole craft and eating it, or like taking energy from it or some shit. What?
I mean, you can't rule
weird
that out.
that this is like the deepest, so quote unquote, the deepest part of the Earth that we know of.
Right.
Where it does have like this, babe, it's like this fucking, it's not gradual. It just like, it just goes from a shelf of ocean bed, and then it just drops into this abyss of nothingness. But
they don't know how deep it goes.
No, we're not able to send any of our equipment down there, like sonar equipment, anything with vibrations to kind of get a feel of how deep it is.
Have they tried to send a Nokia phone down there?
Right. That would be the only
thing might do it.
That could fucking survive the pressurized environment. Dude, the fucking Nokias are like bricks, okay? You can't break a Nokia.
Shit, you can send it down there with like an eighth of battery life left, and that shit'll last.
Hell yeah.
That shit'll live.
For real.
That shit'll last like another 2 weeks. You used to have to, like with the Nokia phones, you charge that shit like once a month.
For real.
Like that shit did not die.
I think that's kind of fucking weird. It's a little sketch. So let us know if you guys would like to hear about the Bermuda Triangle. We can do some more research for you guys and have that for the next conspiracy episode.
Yeah.
But there's so many things to talk about, and so many things that were kind of like interwebbed into the missing aircrafts of this episode. But we hope you guys enjoyed it. That's going to be it for today's His and Hers podcast. Yes. That's what we think about the missing aircrafts. It is very weird, but like honestly,
and
anything can go wrong.
Do you think also do you think that Zahari, the captain of Malaysian Flight MH370, intentionally crashed the plane or not? And if you do think he did, why?
Yeah.
Or if you don't, then what the fuck happened to the plane?
Yeah. Let us know.
I need to know an alternate theory, because right now everything points to he did it.
And he's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't know
right.
why. But if you could come up or propose an alternate theory, I'm interested, legitimately.
Me too.
Like, because I can't think of anything else.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
If you guys enjoyed this video, if you're watching it on YouTube, please make sure you like it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. If you would like, please go back and watch our previous episodes. That would definitely, if you're interested. We also have more conspiracy theories that we did in the past.
If we missed anything, you guys let us know. But thank y'all so much for being here.
Yeah, please feel free to correct us. I know.
Yeah, for sure.
The more accurate the information can be put out there, the better.
Yeah.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the HISxHERS Pod. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at David Cisneros. And also don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll link that below.
Plug.
So if you made it this far, then please subscribe.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Nikki Glamour and on Twitter at the Nikki Glamour. We keep things spicy over there. We got a lot of polls and questions and things like that. So definitely check us out over on social media across Twitter and Instagram. We'd love to see you. But that is it for our conspiracy episode for this month. We hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys would like to hear more conspiracy episodes from us, let us know down below. Thank y'all for joining us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you enjoy your podcast, and of course on YouTube for the visuals. We love you guys so much, and we can't wait to be here next week to start your week off right. So we'll be here for another podcast episode.
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that.
Got you. Okay.
20-something-ish.
So we'll be back next week to start your week off right. We love you guys so much, and we'll see you then. Peace out, y'all.